Hey, this is Heidi Dawson. If you love all things health and wellness and style of any kind, hang out here with me each week. I'm obsessed with never-ending improvement, and it's all in an effort to help each one of us live a wildly successful lifestyle. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing. Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 248 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. Thanks for being here. It's nice hanging out with you guys every Monday and Friday. I like it. Let's keep it up. What do you say? I think most of us can relate to that title. Why do I worry so much? Hang out throughout the whole episode because I give a very specific answer at the end. For now, though, I have a question for you. How much of your life do you spend worrying? Really think about that. How much of your anxiety and misery is self-induced and unnecessarily so? When I posed that question to myself and I really gave it a lot of thought, it's a lot more than I realized. I spend a lot of time worrying, and I consider myself to be pretty laid back. I don't feel like I have a lot of stress, but I notice that I am causing myself stress. I'll give you an example. The other morning, I sent a text to someone and they didn't respond. And I was worried about what that meant. And I started thinking what it meant. I had a headache, which isn't normal for me. And I started worrying, is something wrong? Bad wrong? I worried maybe it's never going to go away. I had a few supply chain issues for a couple of my design projects. And I worried how it would affect the overall project. Is it going to ruin them? And then my little 13-year-old Yorkie wouldn't come downstairs with me in the morning. And I worried that she was sick. And this was within an hour period in my day that I worried about all these things. I'm sure you can relate. I think most of us worry more than we realize. Now, the person I'd sent the text to was sick, hadn't even looked at their phone. My headache went away fairly quickly, and I was able to come up with alternative ideas for the supply chain issue. And my Yorkie simply wanted to sleep in with her dad. So none of these worries followed through to be something really bad. How often are we feeling anxious and it isn't even necessary? And how do we stop doing it? Well, I think mostly it's just that we aren't aware that we're doing it. When we let our brain go on autopilot, that's when the worrying and the anxiety really get out of control. But we control our brain, not the other way around. I never knew that until I really started studying mindset and how your brain works. I used to think I had no control over that I was my thoughts, and my thoughts were just something that happened that was out of my control. Well, it's not something that we learn in school. I mean, I don't think teachers are even taught that. So how are they going to teach something like that if they haven't learned it? We choose our thoughts, whether it's intentional or on autopilot. I, for one, know that I have much better intentional thoughts than autopilot thoughts. When you're being intentional, you're working from your prefrontal cortex. That's your intelligent brain, the front part of your brain. When you're just letting your brain run free with thoughts and worries, you're an autopilot. And that's when you're working from your primitive brain. And that's the one that likes to create the drama. That's the troublemaker. So how do I make sure that more of my thoughts are intentional instead of on autopilot? First of all, awareness. Just like anything, recognize that you're doing it. We spend a lot of our time just letting our brains have its way with us, and we don't even realize it. I mean, being intentional and noticing when you're allowing yourself to just accept whatever your brain throws at you. The other day, our dishwasher wouldn't start. It was just dead. No lights on it whatsoever. And that's really frustrating, especially when it's new and you have guests coming over that night. So I noticed that my brain just started going on a worry rant. I was worried, I was thinking well, what if it's not fixable? What if we have to get a new dishwasher and the new ones are on back order for a year? I'm going to have to be washing dishes like a crazy woman. And now that we're eating at home so much, that's all I'm going to be doing is washing dishes. Well, I'm not doing that. We'll just have to eat out. But then how do I eat out and still eat on my protocol? I could go on and on, but all of these thoughts went through my head in about 30 seconds. Now, when I caught myself, I said, hey, wait a minute. There's worse things than washing dishes. People do it all the time. I used to do it a lot when I was younger. I can figure out what's wrong with the dishwasher if I would just calm down and think through logically. And that's exactly what I did. And guess what? It had come slightly unplugged from the outlet. So all I had to do was push it back in, and voila, it worked. Amazing, right? But had I not stopped my brain from creating all that drama and unnecessary anxiety, I wouldn't have calmed down enough to just think it through like I did. Or at least it would have taken a lot longer and probably involved an electrician or a plumber of some sort. We let our brains run amok so often we don't even realize it. And then we have arguments with people in our heads that never take place. We have fears in the middle of the night that are irrational. We have negative thoughts about ourselves that are simply not true. Those are all products of our primitive brain, and they don't feel good. Guess what? You have the power to stop those thoughts in their tracks. As soon as you recognize you have a thought that isn't serving you, especially ones that make you feel bad, like worrying, just stop and say, I see you, brain. I know you think you're looking out for us, but I've got it from here. I use this a lot. I mean, your primitive brain is like a 3-year-old that wants what it wants and does not make good decisions. So you have to take over whenever you're realizing it's starting to act out. Well, how will you know? Well, you'll be laying there at night freaking out over stuff that won't matter in the morning. You'll be having a silly made-up argument in your head with your mom. You'll be worrying about having to wash dishes for the rest of your life because your dishwasher is simply unplugged. We have got to take back control. It's just our brain's way of trying to keep us safe. We really don't need that safety feature anymore. Our ancestors used to have to run from saber-toothed tigers. It's hardwired for that, but we don't need that feature. Now, of course, if we're in real danger, our logical brain will recognize that as well, and training yourself to let your logical brain take the reins will help you, especially if you do get in real danger. We have to train ourselves to focus on the solution, not the problem. Our primitive brain will have you focusing on the problem and running back into the cave to hide, where your prefrontal cortex will have you coming out with a solution. Which one is going to give you a better outcome? I think you know. My challenge to you this week is to catch yourself the next time you notice you're going into a spiral of negative thoughts, and just stop. Tell your brain, I see you. I get it, but I have it from here. That might look like waking up in the middle of the night, and when you start to worry, just laugh and say, okay, I got it. I see you, brain, but I've got this. Then go put on a sleep story or count backwards from 100, whatever works for you. But acknowledge that you have the power to stop the spiral as soon as you're aware of it. So the answer to why you worry so much is because part of your brain is hardwired to worry. And now that you know you can do something about it, you just have to decide that that is not the part of the brain that's going to run your life. Share this episode with 2 people and go give me a 5-star review if you haven't already. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you in a few days. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends, because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.